here's a bit of a story. This, my old fruit, is a Suzuki GSX-S1000GX. Few months back, went to the press launch in Portugal. Wasn't a great launch, and I came away sort of liking the bike, but feeling as though it certainly missed having any sort of X factor, character or personality. It just felt very Japanese. It worked pretty well. There were lots of attributes. The engine's good. I liked the Lecky suspension. I thought it was pretty comfortable. Didn't knock it for too much, other than having something key missing in its sort of repertoire to make it, well, let's put it this way, when I got on the plane to come back, I didn't miss it for a minute. Everyone else thought that, who wrote and did video on the bike from the launch, and Suzuki obviously took that on board, and because it's an important bike to them, and because it sort of got such a flat response, they had another launch and they took us to Denmark via Holland and Germany. We did a good 1,000 miles on the bike. In fairness, I warmed to it more because I'd spent a lot more time on it, and we did things like spending a lot of time flat out on it, which was, I think, the equivalent of about 145 miles an hour on the autobahn for mile after mile after mile. Again, from a dynamic point of view, I voted it pretty well. But, and this is something I always suspected would be the case, that thing that was really missing was faith in the grip, because the OE Dunlop tyres are simply not good enough for this bike.
I'm going to talk about these tyres.
These are the Japanese Dunlop Road Sport 2. Do not think in the same kind of terms as a Sport Smart 3, a Road Smart 4. These European built tyres are nothing like the ones that come from the Far East. This has been going on for decades. The ones that came on the bikes direct from Japan? Hell no. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Nobody's ever been able to really figure it out either. OE tyres in general, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you get good ones, but they can sometimes be crap. These Road Sport 2s seem to have taken place of the Dunlop D214s, which is another just hateful. You never knew they'd appear on Kawasaki's and Yamaha's, loads of bikes. All you knew is that you were just going to get a completely different, varying level of crapness, basically, because they were bad. Now, these things, the Road Sport 2s, this bike deserves far better tyres. I'm telling you, there is an even... I adore this thing. I really like this bike, and I'm telling you, there is an even better bike inside when you ditch these frickin' things.
Now that I've rectified that, I've fitted some Bridgestone S23s. I had them fitted at Suzuki, and within something like as little as 10 miles of having them fitted, I thought, and said this to camera, do you know what? This is the first time I really think that I can test this bike properly. And that feeling has very much been underlined having done more and more miles on it. I mean, in total, I've done about 2,500 miles on these bikes now. Launch, had one in the UK, did about 900 miles on that, and did 1,000 miles on that trip to Denmark. But only in the last, let's say, 2 tanks, probably 300 miles, have I really felt that I've been able to explore what this bike's got to offer. And do you know what? It's just an absolute revelation. The original tyres sort of grip fairly well when the conditions are just right. However, their biggest flaw is the fact that there isn't any feel or feedback from them. With these aftermarket Bridgestones, I've got everything I need. You can attack with it. You can just do anything you want. Where the Dunlop said, oh, don't do that, son. Oh, you can't go that far. They offered the sort of restriction via that lack of confidence from the lack of feel. These guys just go, do anything you like, mate. Let's party. Let's just have a ball. It's like on the Dunlop OE tyres, it was like going to some sort of party and only being allowed alcohol-free drink. Whereas this, it just says, mate, just have shots, have what you want, just have a great time. It really has transformed the bike. Let's tell you a bit about the bike. I mean, the engine is pretty legendary. It's based on a GSX-S1000GX motor, which is getting on for nearly 20 years old now. Though it doesn't feel quite as impressive as that, I dare say that's courtesy of emissions rulings sort of strangling it a bit. It's still pretty damn good, pretty damn flexible. Lower overall gearing makes it a bit more responsive in big cogs as well. But I think the best thing I like about this engine, is the fact that it's fast and exciting, but it's not crazy or overwhelming. I can get it on full throttle. I can ride it harder and not be scared by it. I think that's a very, very realistic feature of the motor. Quite a lot of 1000cc sports bike engines these days are just frighteningly, you can't even say it because I'm too frightened to. They are overwhelmingly powerful and they just send you to just ridiculous jail-baiting speeds. I'm not saying you can't get into bother on this, but it's just a bit more real world and I really like it. It's smooth, it's fairly frugal, and that's a very good thing. I like the way it steers now. It's a lot better with the Bridgestones on it. It's a weighty thing, it weighs 232 kilos fully fueled and ready to go, but you can still hustle it. And though I'd say the brakes could do with a bit more bite, I think bar that, the chassis is very good. Now, one thing that sets it apart from the others in the range, the GSX-S range, the S and the GT models, is the fact that it's got Lecky suspension. Makes it taller. The suspension isn't the finest in the world, but it's perfectly adequate, and the best thing is, at the touch of a button, you can just adjust stuff how you want it to make it behave how you want it to. One thing I like particularly about the Lecky suspension is the preload adjustment. You can get the rear end jacked up to make it steer a bit more quickly, and it is very noticeable when you do that. I just like the fact that, at the touch of a button you can alter the behaviour. And let's face it, you could have the very best suspension on earth fitted to a bike, but unless it's electronically adjustable, you have to stop and get the spanners out, and you don't have to do that on this. Comfort. Now, when we were on that Danish trip, we moaned about the seat, despite the fact that it was a comfort seat that Suzuki fitted. Even the standard one, on occasion, doesn't feel too good. I think it's sort of a question of how moody my arse is more than anything, because sometimes it's fine and sometimes not. And I think the footrests are a bit too high. They don't affect me too much because I'm only a shorty, but I think longer-legged riders, if they spend as long as we did on a trip like that one we made to Denmark, they might have a few issues. It's rectified quite quickly by having a bit of a break. If you did a bit of walking about every time you filled it up, that'd probably sort the job. I just stand up on the footrests a couple of times and it's okay. It does have panniers, this particular version. It's just under 16 grand. This is actually a GT Plus. It's not a GT Plus, it's a GX Plus, because it's normally got panniers, but I knew I was going to go through a lot of traffic today, so I couldn't be bothered. It's generally pretty good for longer stuff. Screen's very good. Again though, for 16 grand, should it have a Lecky adjustable one? I think it should really. You can adjust it, but you've got to get the spanners out. They've bothered fitting Lecky suspension, which normally adds at around 2 grand to a bike, but they felt, this is their response, they felt as though they didn't have the budget to fit a Lecky screen on as well. Tank range is pretty good. I think you could get up to 2 if you were really reserved. It'll do 150, 175 quite easily. I think overall it is a pretty nippy, versatile bit of kit. Sounds great when you ride it a bit harder. The main thing is change the tyres as quickly as you can, because only then can you really enjoy its full potential. This is a bike that's greatness is waiting to get out, but only when you open the door to allow it to do that by fitting aftermarket tyres will you really learn to appreciate it. And believe you me, you do that within just a few miles. With the proper tyres, this is a very, very good motorbike.